I'm Yash, the CPO at Surge. It's Michael, our CEO at Surge. So the topic today is the unilateral exit. I'm sure you have come across this with a lot of self-custodial or non-custodial protocols. So for us, this is like a base, a minimum standard if you're building something non-custodial protocol on top of Bitcoin. Surge is a Bitcoin native, a dollar credit line. So you can go and borrow dollars against your Bitcoin in a non-custodial way. And there are very few primitives or ways to build it. So one is a standard multi-sig, where you lock in the funds with your lender and a borrower and probably a third person who kind of intermediates the whole thing. Or you have DLCs, which is discrete log contracts. So there are only two ways. And that's a challenge that we kind of ran into when we were building a non-custodial protocol from the outside. So that's a journey I'm kind of taking you guys through, show how our protocol actually non-custodial with unilateral exit built into it with Tapscript vaults to start with basic scripting. Yeah. So what you guys can expect is like, I'll quickly give a quick revision on like what Tapscript is, and then how we completely rethought the whole thing on a borrowing use case for Bitcoin with Tapscript, as well as some of the other things that we have worked on, and give you a clear breakdown on how it works under the hood for Tapscript, and then show you how the unilateral exit is being built inside the protocol. And then we're gonna give you a live demo of this working end-to-end. And we just launched our public beta this morning at the event. We came out of private beta, so 3-4 weeks. We saw like almost 8 Bitcoin locked in so far. So people coming in, borrowing against their Bitcoin in a way which is completely different. It's not a typical loan, it's credit. You can go and borrow how much ever you want, you can repay how much ever you want. I think that's the flexibility that's offers in this non-custodial construct. So a quick revision on Taproot. So Taproot is based on something called a mass demoralized alternative script tree. What it does is it organizes different script or different spending conditions in the form of a tree, and it gets committed to a Taproot address. I mean, we all know that this is one of the best upgrade for Bitcoin. And the problem it kind of solved is, of course, the complex scripts can be put on chain, and it hides everything else. It only shows what is being spent on chain. So there are two paths in Taproot, which is key path and a script path. Key path is pretty straightforward. It looks like any transaction on blockchain, which is on the payment side, and script path is where you can put all this different conditions. If you have like complex spending paths, you can organize all them in the form of a module tree. So the key path kind of works for any straightforward use case. You just combining, and then it comes with a snark signature, which is a linear than ECDSA, which gives you a flexibility to kind of add multiple signatures, and even if you do like a multi-sig, you can really do the privacy in a much more private way on with Tapscript, with script. So key path is more for a happy path. Everybody agrees, you sign, and then transaction goes through. But if you want to like put in a lot of these checks, I think that's where the script path is much more preferred. So quick timeline on how it all happened, how the proposal came in. So I think the idea was to like bring in some programmability on top of Bitcoin, and of course the Bitcoin has very limited space in the transactions. You can't just push everything in. If you have followed the whole Bitcoin L2 or the spam things, I'm sure how Bitcoiners are really cautious about like putting any data or like every data on top of in the blockchain. So it has 3 bips, 340, 341, 42. Snark signatures are introduced in 40, and then the Taproot, and then you have the script where you can actually put multiple spending conditions. So this is how they kind of compose. So you have the At the bottom, you have SNAR signatures. So till then, it was ECDSA. This is probably an interesting fact. When Satoshi first published and did this, it was ECDSA. It was not SNAR. So if you just generally look at it, SNARs are way superior than ECDSA. But there was a problem around the proprietorship of it. Like there was an IP protection on SNAR, which they couldn't use in 2008. And in 2021, when this went live, that's when it was kind of open for innovation and the adoption. But SNAR is way more superior than ECDSA. But Bitcoin does support both. With Taproot, you can do SNAR. With Segwit and stuff, you can do still ECDSA. And then the Taproot comes in, which where you can put everything off chain. You can put that hash in the Taproot under the script tree. And that is where the Tapscript comes in, where you can actually organize and do the tree with multiple spending conditions. So what Taproot enables, one is the privacy. So let's take a case of a simple multisig. So if you're not using Taproot, you have all this multiple signature or multiple address being visible on chain. But with Taproot, that's flexibility. You don't have to expose all the multisigs. And you get programmability to an extent. May not be the best, not what you see in EVM, but definitely gives you a lot more programmability, a lot more space versus what you could do with the other existing frameworks. It also does it brings a lot of efficiency because you don't put the whole tree on chain. You only put what gets executed, and it didn't require any fork, which is the best part of Taproot. So when we were thinking about how can we build a non-custodial credit or to start with a lending protocol on top of Bitcoin, that's when we ran into time. So if you look at the traditional loan, it's a decade-old market. There are so many players out there. Some of them are here with the booth and showcase. All of them are more like a bank-like structure. So they are all following the old school playbook. They go to the custodian, or they get the custodian license, which is a tedious process. They get in the big custodians like Bitco, Anchorage. There's many. And then you have to get into the next level, which is lending. Either you have to get your lending licenses, or you need to use somebody else. So that's the playbook that we have seen so far. And we don't want to do another one. What's the point of putting another product, which probably 1x, 2x improvements over the existing incumbents who are in the market. So that's where we kind of came up with a credit line as a concept instead of a standard loan. So what happens in a loan? So you have Bitcoin, you don't want to sell. You want to go borrow against it. So you go to a lender, you have your Bitcoin, and you have fixed terms. So let's say you go with 6 months loan, you go with 1 month, 1 year loan, and the terms and everything is kind of driven by the lender because they have more leverage here, and everything kind of this is a fixed amount, it's fixed terms. If you want to borrow again, you get a new loan. It's altogether a new process. So. And the liquidation event is crazy. You don't know what's happening. You have no transparency into the whole process, and that's the thing we completely rethought about how can we make this much more open in of course a non-custodial way. On top of it, how can it be a credit line? So what is a credit line? You hold a pristine asset, and now you should be able to the protocol should actually do best for you versus you actually following all the constraints of a protocol. So in our case, it's a revolving liquidity. You can go and borrow how much you want. Let's say you go and lock in 1 Bitcoin. So if you are 50% LTV, you can go borrow up to $50,000, or you can do $10,000 and then come back, repay, or you can borrow more. So that level of flexibility, which is a solid user experience, wasn't there in the industry. So that's what we're trying to achieve through this protocol with non-custodial. Again, in a non-custodial way that you can go and verify everything on-chain. So with Bitcoin, the thing is, if you can't verify, then how can you trust it? So I think that's a huge shift that we are bringing into the market. So how are we doing this with Taproot in lending use case? So this is how we are actually leveraging the tree, organized alternatives to tree. So where there are primarily three things, right? Actually there are only two things, right? So one is your repayment. You repaid your loan or the credit in our case, so you're able to get your Bitcoin back. So that's one, that's very important one, which is the repayment. So the next one is liquidation. So if your loan or if your position goes below, like let's say 90% or 80%, whatever the lenders or the protocol offers you, you should be able to liquidate. So that's the second important thing when it comes to lending as a protocol. And this is the third one that we kind of came up. As a Bitcoiner, I should be able to exit if all this goes down. So if lender goes under, like the protocol goes under, things don't go as planned, then as a Bitcoiner I should be protected. I should be able to get my Bitcoin back to me because I hold a pristine asset, and that's the whole ethos of Bitcoin. Then what's the point of holding a Bitcoin? So we were able to achieve that with the Taproot with 3 spending plans. You can see how we have actually done the implementation. So there is repayment. So there is this Bitcoin stays on Bitcoin on Taproot, and we are using the stablecoins have improved so much. The stablecoin infrastructure is the same probably like a year before, not 2 years. So we are using some of that stable infrastructure to enable the lending side of it. So we don't fall into, that's how we are able to keep it non-custodial. So the repayment happens with 2 things. So there is a user signature that's required. The user has to go to the stable infrastructure. In our case, we are using base Ethereum. You have to repay your loan with those stable coins, and then you will get that signature. And there is something called DCMs. I'm going to brief a little bit, which kind of bridge this both stablecoin infrastructure and Bitcoin Taproot, which is again a distributed signer network. Both co-sign. So user has his own right control, and the DCN has its own. With liquidation, so that's where DCN kind of does it unilaterally, but there's enough checks in place. So there are 2 levels of checks that we do. One is on the lending layer, which is a standard, oracle. You go in, okay, the price is going down, and the health is below, let's say, it's going above 90%. So you need to liquidate. And then there's also a check at the DCN level. So there's a dual check at the oracle level to liquidate. So as a user, you clearly know, okay, this is what happened with my liquidation, and you know where it was. I think it's completely auditable. You can go back and check on chain. And the third is the exit part. So when you initiate your credit line, so we are making by default a 1 year. So now your Bitcoin is locked for 1 year. If you don't act before 1 year, you want to get your Bitcoin back. So that's the unilateral exit, which is the mini part of our protocol, which is non-custodial. So now coming specifically with how the unilateral exit works. So if you're building a non-custodial protocol, so what are the options that highlighted initially? One is multi-sig, where there are 3 parties. One is a lender, and there is a borrower, which is Bitcoiner. Typically, you go to a multi-sig, you lock in, and there's an intermediary or some third party who's actually saying, oh, okay, you repaid or you don't. So there's this human in the loop issue. How do you resolve conflicts? How do you resolve it's all gets into a non-bank and then you're stuck in this whole non-custodial trap. And the second thing is DLCs. I think the biggest problem that we kind of encounter with DLCs, they're not flexible. They're one time. You go in and get a signature from Oracle and say, my positions gets liquidated at this price. And in a way, you're actually depending on Oracle for your liquidation event. And you don't have any exit or unilateral exit in this. So that's how we are. There's some technical part of how we are actually doing it, and there is no signer, no DCN. So Surge as a protocol has no control over this. V goes down lenders are in a way responsible if this all goes down. If we don't act before that time lock, expenses. This is a unilateral point. So here's a quick comparison of how does this compare against DLCs and Tapscript. There's, in the Oracle dependency, like I said, it's dual check, it's not like a single check. And the outcome is a lot more continuous because it's not fixed. Like with DLC, it's like one time. You can't do anything with it. It's like one time you create your position, somebody's managing it for you, or you can track that for the next 10, but that's it. And you can't do credit claims with it. It's because it's one time. It's probably a better version of loan, like in a non-custodial way. And then no unilateral exit, and then privacy. Because this is the interesting part that we have done in the protocol. The key path is a nums key. You can always go and prove like, oh, nobody owns this key. That's what makes it different, and everything is in the script. And now in the demo, Michael's going to take you through like how this actually can be verified on chain. Here's a little bit about the distribution custody network that we have built, which is in between the Taproot vaults and the lending layer, which is on the stablecoins and which is on the DeFi side. What it does is no single custodian takes control of it. It's a network. It's a distributed network. It's based on an MPC TSS protocol called LIN 22. We are going up to 24 soon. It's threshold. It's M of n. So the majority agrees to it. It works, and user always retains the key. Any surge is one of the protocols which is built on top of it. Now, anybody who is actually running a Bitcoin First company, or they want to integrate a non-custodial lending services, they can do it. They can just go and plug it in. If they build their own key. So Michael.
Test.
Okay. So Mike's going to give a quick demo of how it all works. So like I said, we just went public beta this morning. You can actually download it in the App Store and try it. I'll give it to Mike.
Hi everyone, my name is Michael and I'm the CEO and co-founder here at Surge. And let's take a look at what our app looks like today. Anyone can download this on the Play Store for Android or iOS, so available worldwide. Again, because it's non-custodial. So let's see. This is just the fancy onboarding everyone can get to. First thing we start here is we have two different products. We have a variable line of credit and a fixed rate line of credit. And our variable rate line of credit targets 6.9%. I think it's like 7.2 today. So again, Bitcoin stays in that Tapscript vault, and it's non-custodial. In order to get into the app, we do email authorization, and then we have an OTP 2FA that then stores the private key in a trusted execution environment that is connected to your email address. Or of course, if you want to bring your own seed phrase, you can do that, and that'll be stored in the T as well. So here's that OTP. Get ourselves lined up and into the app. So here, use the secure enclave or bring my own seed phrase. And we of course have biometrics. So the first thing you get to do is you get to say how much USDC do I want. And right now we go up to $1 million credit lines. If you need more than that, we can talk and create secondary lines of credit. So let's go ahead and borrow 10,000. And I think this is on our testnet version, so that's why you're seeing 3 here. But in mainnet, we have 2, just the variable line of credit and the fixed line of credit. And both LTVs are at 50% in mainnet right now. So here we'll say, hey, we need to add more collateral. So let's go ahead and deposit some Bitcoin. Then we're not going to wait for the 3 confirmations, but you can see it kind of happen here, of course. I promise we're not going to wait 3 confirmations. All right, so we're just pushing through here. All right, so we get our 3 confirmations, and then we'll go and see our credit line is issued. So with a credit line, again, you can draw on it whenever you please, repay whenever you please, because we're doing that on our L2, so we can do multiple transactions very, very quickly, so we don't have to wait for each Bitcoin block to do the draws. So now I'll go in and show so this is what our unilateral exit tool looks like that we were talking about earlier. We're planning on open sourcing this code. I'm not sure, I think that's coming out in the newsletter next week, but this is, again, what it looks like. If you want to inspect it for yourself, you'll see your Taproot vault, you'll see all the different spend paths, that internal key that we were talking about earlier, and here's how we prove that we have nothing up our sleeves. It's called the nums key. Very cute, I know. And then you can see all of your different UTXOs over here on the left side, and when each individual UTXO reaches that time lock unlock. So moving on out of our unilateral exit, this is like a look into our signer network. So you can see the live status of all of our production signers. Right now we have 4, so the threshold for signing for an action is 3 of those 4, and that will change over time as we get new distribution partners, new important liquidity providers, potentially even like insurance providers and things like that. So the people we want to be in this network for signers are like people and businesses who are interested in like white labeling and have a stake in the credit business itself. And then I think the last thing I think that's about it. Yeah. So we've got a few minutes left. If there are any questions from the audience, yeah, this guy's got a question. So we've only got one speaker. So.